Hello. What names do American Jews select for their pets? And what do these names tell us about American Jews? I'll be talking about names of pets, and that is domestic companion animals as opposed to production animals. And I'll be talking about the call name or Rufname rather than the taxonomic terms. And I'll be talking about both official and unofficial names. Throughout history, pets have had names in various categories, including characteristics, personal names, religiosity. These are examples from ancient Egypt and Crete. Some examples from modern Sweden include borrowed names adapted to the local phonology, like the animal's origin, like Icelandic horses and Japanese Shiba Inu dogs, high status language like jumping rabbits with English names, and references to pop culture, and just a desire to be exotic or unique in the names that people choose for their pets. In 20th century Canadian Inuit communities, there is a tradition of naming dogs after living or deceased humans. Relatives, friends, enemies, and even previous dog owners, and even oneself. In contemporary Finland, there are names in many different categories: personal names, celebrities, fictional characters, onomatopoetic names like the sound that the animals make, like meow or hiss, animal names themselves, characteristics, breeds, and then sometimes animals are named in sets like Huey, Dewey, and Louie. Personal names are not common everywhere. For example, a study of pets' names in contemporary Taiwan finds that it's very rare to use Chinese human names. There are some foreign borrowing names, but most of the names are in other categories like reduplication, terms of endearment, foods, and onomatopoetic names. However, in the US, names that are personal names are the most popular, especially for dogs and cats, and a bit less for birds, fish, small animals, reptiles, and horses. Also in the US, and I haven't found any scholarship on this yet, is puns on celebrity names like Rosa Parks, Julius Caesar, Paul McCartney, Scarlett Johansson, and Kitty Purry, which is the cat of Katy Perry. In my research, I found that American Jews use names in all of these categories, some of them distinctly Jewish, either overt or coded, and I found much evidence of language contact. Now, in the scholarship on names of pets, there is a contention that there are three categories of pets' names: singularizing, which is the most important, expressive, like naming a fierce dog Attila, and ritual, honoring people with the names of the pets. And based on my research, I argue for a fourth function, which is social and identity. That is, allowing people to align with some people, distinguish themselves from others, and present their values to the world. My data come from a survey that I conducted in 2019 on American Jewish personal names. It was a snowball sample. There were 11,000 respondents. It was not a random sample, so it was not representative of American Jews or Americans more broadly. The post hoc analysis found that our sample was slightly more engaged in Jewish life than the broader population of people who are willing to tell a phone surveyor that they're Jewish. We asked a question: have you had any pets? And we found that 71% of our respondents who are Jewish or of Jewish ancestry report having a pet, and that's 5,583 respondents. And we found differences between Orthodox and non-Orthodox Jews. Orthodox Jews are much less likely to have pets. because of historical fear of dogs and because of concerns about Sabbath observance with a pet. So of those people that said they have had at least one pet, we asked, have any of your pets had names that you consider Jewish? And 30% of those did. So most respondents have pets that do not have Jewish names, like Fifi and Coco and Peanut or whatever. But 30% have pets with Jewish names. Now, this correlates with various social factors, like those who are Jewish professionals, that is, rabbis, cantors, educators, Jewish nonprofit professionals, etc., are much more likely than those who are not to have a pet with a Jewish name. But even in that group, it's still less than half. Also, having a pet with a Jewish name correlates with the percentage of one's friends who are Jewish. Those who have all or a majority close friends Jewish are much more likely to have a pet with a Jewish name. So for each person who said they had a pet with a Jewish name, we asked them several questions. The name of the pet, why they consider that pet's name Jewish, the pet's sex, the decade when the pet was named, what type of animal it was, and we had several options, the animal type or breed, the pet's nickname, and if you would like to share any Jewish stories about this pet's name, please do so here. Now, based on these responses, we did our analysis. The analysis found that dogs were the most common animal type in this set of data of pets with Jewish names, and then cats, fish, bird, rodent, reptile, other, rabbit, and unspecified. And in my analysis, I'll be combining rodent with rabbit because there were so few. Now, this order of popularity is just about the same as the broader American pet population. And once we got the data, we coded it according to several categories. The type of name, personal name, biblical, rabbinic, literature reference, historical figure, etc., and the language, Hebrew, Yiddish, Aramaic, etc., and whether there was wordplay. Now, the coding wasn't just one per name. Many of the pets have multiple codes, and the same name sometimes has different codes based on the write-in responses of why do you consider this pet's name Jewish. For example, the name Golda is always coded as both Yiddish and a personal name, but it's also coded in other categories based on what people write. A dog named Golda is coded as honoree, historical figure, Israel, because this one is after Golda Meir and her deceased great aunt. Golda Meir was a prime minister in Israel. A chicken named Golda also was coded as a literary cultural reference and a characteristic because someone wrote, she's a gold-colored chicken who enjoys perching on the roof of the coop and was named right after my little brother saw Fiddler on the Roof in Yiddish. And cats named Golda Meow and Golda Meow Ear were coded as Yiddish, personal name, historical figure, Israel, and wordplay. So what did I find? Well, first let's look at language. Hebrew was the most common language by far for Jewish names of pets. Here's Yofi. Then Yiddish, this is Bissel, meaning Yofi means nice, and Bissel means little, a little. And here's Boreka, which is a Ladino word for a puff pastry filled with potatoes or cheese. And the owners of this dog says that they chose the name Boreka because this is a Sephardic dog. Ladino is the ancestral language of this community. And because at any given moment, she may be filled with cheese and potatoes. Also, they use the nickname Bo, which means come, and in Hebrew, so there's some wordplay going on there, and Bo is also a popular name for dogs in general. Wordplay is also common. For example, Ruth Betta Finsberg after Supreme Court Justice Ruth Bader Ginsburg, in this case, a betta fish, and a turtle named Matzav, which means situation and is euphemistically used to refer to the political situation in Israel. And it also means what? Turtle, Matzav. So the most common category of names was personal names by far, 1,309 tokens. And of those, there were a few with honoree names, either humans or pets. So here is the next category, which is biblical or rabbinic literature. And this is Leah, the dog, with her baby and a Jewish book. There are lots of biblical and rabbinic references. This is Queen Vashti, a character in the Book of Esther. This is Rashi, a medieval commentator on the Torah. And I actually found many dogs and one iguana named Rashi. Next category is characteristics. So we have Lev and Safam. And if you can see the picture, then you'll know which one is which when I tell you what they mean. Lev means heart and Safam means mustache. And those correlate nicely with their facial features. This is a bare-eyed cockatoo named Kala, which means bride, and she got her name when she reacted strongly to Lecha Dodi, a song about the Shabbat bride, which is Kala, on her first Shabbat in her new home. And it also fits her coloring like a bride. She's dressed in white and has a peach blush around her face. And this is pretty common, demonstrating how animals in the home can be part of the Jewish ritual of the family. Next category is Jewish identified food. This is a cat named Bamba, and that is a popular Israeli snack food. This is a dog named Latke, which is a potato pancake, especially eaten on Hanukkah. And so a lot of the latkes are actually adopted around Hanukkah. I actually found 4 cats, 7 dogs, 1 parakeet, 1 python, and 3 rodents named Latka, and 12 dogs, 2 cats, a rodent, and an alligator named Kugel, which is another Eastern European Jewish dish. There are several animals with names that are the name of the animal in Hebrew or Yiddish, like Tuki, which means parrot in Hebrew, or a fish named Mayim, which means water, a parakeet named Anan, which means cloud, a cat named Tesha, which is 9 after the cat's 9 lives. So it's not just the name of the category, but it's also the name of things associated with that animal category. There are also many animals named after holidays, especially if they are adopted around that holiday. I mentioned Latke, but there's also a lot of animals named after things related to Purim, which is a holiday that takes place around March, like Shushan, where the city takes place, or various names of characters in the story, and also the names of Hamantashen, that is a pastry that Ashkenazi or Eastern European Jews eat in honor of the holiday. Also for Rosh Hashanah, the Jewish New Year, you have animals named Shana Tova or Shayna Tova, kind of a pun on good year, and Tapuach, meaning apple, or Tekiah, which is a ritual horn blast. But it's not just holidays that are mentioned in religiosity related terms. One cat named Tikva, which means hope, was the only kitten born alive in its litter, and another was adopted the day after the 2018 Pittsburgh Tree of Life synagogue shooting. There are many animals named after historical figures. This is Mr. Einstein, looking very much like his historical namesake. This is Bernie, named after Bernie Sanders. This is Golda Meow, named after Golda Meir. And so you do hear this kind of wordplay. This is a term of endearment, motek, which means sweetie, common in Israel today, influenced by Yiddish as well. Israel is also a category for names of animals. For example, this is Tishbe, which is the name of a winery in Israel. And this couple loved this winery when they lived in Israel for a year. And they said, if we ever get a dog, we're going to name it Tishbe. And they did, and they did. And the final category is literary or cultural references. For example, this is Perchik. Perchik is a character in Fiddler on the Roof. There are also many other animals named after Fiddler on the Roof characters like Chava, Tevye, Tzeitel, and Golda, and also characters from other pop cultural phenomena that are about Jews or somehow associated with Jews. This is Ziva Dagid, which is named after Ziva David, an Israeli character on NCIS. So where do personal names fit in here? Well, for all animal types, about half of the Jewish names are personal names. A little more for dogs, a little less for cats and some of the other categories. But we find that personal names are among the most popular. Here are the most popular names for pets in my data set. And in the top 48 names, those with at least 7 tokens each, including various spellings, we find 31 personal names, 21 biblical and rabbinic, 9 holidays, 7 foods, 5 animal names, and 4 terms of endearment. There's also a historical trend that the decade that a pet was adopted correlates with the percentage that have personal names. And we see that the cats started to have about half of the names be personal names starting in 2000, and the dogs had that starting in 1980. And I think this influx demonstrates the historical changes over time that we tend now to see our animals, especially our dogs, as part of the family. Some other trends to point out: there are many dogs, as I said, named after honorees, and sometimes, and this is actually the case for all other types of animals, about 4 to 5%, except for reptiles. I didn't find any honorees in reptiles. And in sometimes they're named after humans, like someone who names her cat Gertie after her grandmother, or someone who named her dog Nadav after a Jewish camp counselor that she remembered fondly. And then sometimes they're named after other pets, like a dog named Sadie after her grandfather's horse, or a dog named Pipik, which means belly button in Yiddish, named after her grandfather's dog, who also had a soft belly and was named Pipik. And there are also other trends, like using a Jewish ritual name with the parent's name, which is how a ritual name is formed in Jewish communities, like Shendel Bas Ketzel, or Caleb ben Wafune, which is a pun on Caleb ben Yefune, which is a biblical character. And the word Caleb is Kalev, which means dog. Another trend is for animals to have 2 different names: one their normal name or their English name, and then one their Hebrew name or their Jewish name, like Maxie, whose Jewish name is a Yiddish phrase alte kaker, which is also wordplay because it means old pooper, but she's also an old cranky cocker spaniel. And Oreo and Cookie, whose Hebrew names are Hillel and Shammai, 2 famous rabbis. And then we have sibling names, that is, animals that are not necessarily actually siblings, but are adopted around the same time or part of the same family, like applesauce and sour cream, some hamsters, which is the toppings that people debate which is better to eat with latkes, potato pancakes, and fish named shacharit, mincha, and mariv, which are the names of the Jewish prayer services, morning, afternoon, and evening, and Moshe and Tzipporah, which are characters from the Bible. And often sibling names tend to be in the same categories. So in conclusion, Jewish pets' names follow broader onomastic trends, the prevalence of personal names, celebrities, pop culture, characteristics, etc. And they're also distinct. There's more multilingual influence, especially from Hebrew and Yiddish. There are many specifically Jewish references, and there are sometimes separate English and ritual names and structure of the name. And these trends show how Jews are both acculturated into the surrounding society and distinct. And I would argue that analyzing pets' names in a minority group sheds light on that minority group's desire for alignment and distinctive identification. And it could be overtly or covertly or in a coded way distinguishing themselves. It also sheds light on what is important to that group. In the case of Jews, that is clearly biblical and rabbinic texts, rituals, holidays, and values, historical figures and celebrities, pop culture, especially Fiddler on the Roof, Israel, nostalgia for the old country, and various languages associated with Jews. And I hope that this will serve as a model for future analysis of pets' names in minority groups. Thank you very much.